Hey there, gang. Today it's time for a brand new episode of my Clown Classroom series. For those who don't know, this is where I review matches submitted to me by members within my community who are having problems in their clown matches and are seeking my help in order to get better. So, what I have today is a match from somebody who approached me very recently. They are struggling in Chase as Clown even after the buffs, and they figured that was very peculiar given that Clown did receive a whole lot in this recent patch. So I decided I would review their match and kind of see what was going wrong, and I actually noticed a whole lot of changes for improvement, and so I figured we'd talk about that as well here today. I figured that would be a good way for people who find themselves in a similar situation, perhaps that are experiencing similar struggles in Chase. This may address some of those concerns, and y'all may be able to see how you yourself can improve in that same area. So before we start actually looking at the match footage, I want to discuss what I like to call the draft phase. The draft phase is where you are essentially putting together your loadout, and it's pretty essential with respect to your own performance because it is the most pinnacle area with respect to how much control you have over what you bring into a match. You are able to decide what add-ons you bring, what perks you bring. That is an agency you have as a Clown player. And so it's very important that you are taking add-ons and perks that are actually helping you achieve that end goal, right? Helping you get kills, helping you down survivors, at least with respect to optimal performance. If you are intending to run a build that's more gimmicky in nature, that's one thing. But if you are running a perk that per se is gimmicky with the intention of it being optimal, it's important to recognize when something isn't optimal and perhaps where substitutions are in order. So first things first, we're going to start off with the add-ons. Now, I typically don't run Flask of Bleach. People who watch me, I don't really run this often, and this is because I'm someone who runs Coup de Grace. Coup de Grace is a perk circumvents the need for Flask of Bleach in a whole lot of builds because it gets you that extra distance that normally is denied if you were to run Flask of Bleach. So if you are not running Coup de Grace, this is a good add-on choice in place of something like Garish Makeup Kit. So this is fine, especially with respect to the perks. Cigar Box is especially very important because you get that dominance over high wall tiles. You also are able to see survivors who are hiding, survivors who are attempting altruism. So Cigar Box is a very good choice here as well. Again, the only downside you really have always whenever running Cigar Box is if you're tunneling someone with off the record or if they have distortion. So this is ultimately very, very good together. Very quick discussion on add-ons. Moving next into perks. The perks need a little bit of adjustment, in my opinion, with this build. This build, I know, used to work a lot better for this Clown user in the past, but I do believe that especially Gift of Pain, but not only Starstruck, these perks don't really work that well on Clown in the current meta. And we're going to talk about that. First, we're going to start from the left, though. Pain Resonance. So Pain Resonance is very great on Clown. I would say Pain Resonance is arguably Clown's best independent gen regression perk. So this is a very great slot. You don't even need to be running anything, I think, alongside Pain Resonance for it to be a great perk on Clown. The only real problem with Pain Res, especially by itself, is that you have to ensure that you are getting those hooks and that you also similarly have to make sure that you are downing survivors in the time frame that you need for those hooks to matter. But ultimately, one of his best perks, this is a great choice. Next is Agitation. I actually really, really like Agitation by itself. Agitation, you don't even need to necessarily run, I think, with Pain Res, especially if you're running it as a flex perk. But you are going to similarly see value alongside of Pain Resonance because you are going to ensure you get those Pain Resonance hooks. But let's assume that you didn't have Pain Res. Let's assume you had some other menagerie of perks, right? And you just had Agitation among them. Agitation as an independent flex perk is very strong because you are able to hook survivors aggressively all that more efficiently. And aggressive hooking is very pinnacle or key when it comes to performing well on Clown because you are able to snowball that much more effectively. See, hook placement, specific hook placement, only matters in one of two situations, or rather, two together. Either if you are camping and you need to ensure that you hook a survivor in an area of the map that is hard for survivors to contest and unhook, either individually or both as a team, or also if you are trying to make sure you get value out of your Pain Res hook. So that is really the only time where actual independent hook placement matters. So that means that if you don't have those concerns, if you are looking to transition to chasing a different survivor, you are not camping, and you are not looking to go back to tunnel, agitation is great because by itself, you can take a survivor that you have just downed and you can carry them to where you expect other survivors will be. And this makes up for some of Clown's lack of map mobility. Because remember, that's where Clown struggles. Clown struggles with crossing the map. And that means that you are able to take a period of time, which is an area of downtime where Clown is near his weakest, and you are able to at least compensate for some of his downsides by getting that extra efficiency, by moving faster and getting your hook in sooner. Because that means that once you hook that survivor, you can start looking for survivors, you have control over your bottles, and you can get your next chase started that much sooner. And it does add up. You can be pushing survivors off of generators before they complete them because you hooked aggressively and you did that sooner. This is ultimately, there are a whole lot of ways to cut it, a very good perk by itself. I like these two perks in this build. These perks, in my opinion, can stay. These are the two perks that are the problem. So Starstruck is a gimmick. Starstruck should not be getting you value in your games. I say that objectively because any survivor who gets the notification of being exposed, the easiest way of countering this perk is you just run away. Any survivor with 30 minutes of game experience will end up countering you just because they are scared. A perk that can get countered by a survivor that doesn't know what they're doing can especially get countered by a survivor who does know what they're doing. The only time you will ever get value from Starstruck is from greedy survivors who are intentionally not caring about the end result of getting downed. They're just having fun. So again, it's a gimmicky perk. It is not an optimal perk. This perk should get changed. I think this would be a perk slot where I would consider taking a chase perk, something like Save the Best for Last, Sanchin Tactics, Coup de Grace, Superior Anatomy. There are a bunch of different choices that you could take, even Bamboozle, which is actually relevant on a few maps, right? Like something like, let's say, Gas Heaven. So there are so many other perks you could take in place of Starstruck. This perk is not a consistent perk, and by virtue of taking this perk, you are being held back in your matches. So with respect to improving at a more consistent level, this does need to change. Lastly, Gift of Pain. This perk was a lot better before 2 patches, but this perk is basically negative value, all things considered, on Clown in this current patch. The first nerf that this perk received was, I think it was, again, 2 patches ago. They made it to where instead of a 16% regression penalty on getting fully healed, it's now only 9%. Next, what they did is they made it to where Hemorrhage and Mangled now has a limited duration. So ultimately, this perk has received a lot of pain, no pun intended, and it is holding you back so much by comparison to what you could be taking in its place. Opportunity cost is a big deal. You could be taking Deadlock, you could be taking Corrupt Intervention, you could be taking Grim Embrace, you could be taking Pop Goes the Weasel. There are so many perks you could be taking instead of Gift of Pain in this current patch that will make it to where, just at the draft level, we haven't even looked at the gameplay yet, gang, but taking this perk holds you back. You know, I understand the desire to be unique. Genuinely, this is coming from somebody who has started using Unrelenting. You know, I genuinely understand that, but I run perks with objective purpose, even things like Unrelenting. And I'm willing to acknowledge, even with the quirky stuff, when things aren't actually generating value. And I can say this is a perk that is not going to be generating you value. Clown does not have the mobility to get multiple survivors at once put under this debuff where they have that speed regression and pressure everyone at once to where you are getting these hooks spread. It's not going to do anything by comparison to what you would take with Grim Embrace, which is where you hook a survivor and now all of the survivors can't do generators. With this perk, literally what this perk does is it gives them sloppy for 90 seconds, and if assuming the survivors heal, which they may, you know, it's very likely they still will, They get the equivalent of a couple of pre-nerf Faina stacks, the equivalent of 3 Dying Light stacks until they get injured again, but that's only on one survivor. So every other survivor that wasn't involved with the unhooking process, that was already working on generators to begin with, they are not going to be feeling the brunt of anything from this perk with respect to slowing down generator progression, and that is why this perk is thus inferior. This perk is, just like I was talking about with Starstruck, is holding you back. So again, take something like Deadlock, take something like Corrupt Intervention. You could take, what did I say, even Pop. Grim Embrace is amazing. I love Grim Embrace Pain Res. You could even Dead Man Switch, I think, with Pain Res by itself would be great. But yeah, these two perks are going to be the problem. But again, you know, mostly everything else is fine. Your Pain Resonance, your Agitation, your Flask, your Cigar Box, you've got everything good to go here. And let's start transitioning now. We're going to now get ready to move forward into reviewing the match itself. So even though we just spent plenty of time talking about the perk builds and the add-ons and the changes that I would make, I want to be very clear that that was not any determining factor with respect to why this match was a loss. This loss, in my opinion, boiled down almost purely to micro decision mistakes, which is another way of saying mistakes one makes in Chase. This can be anything from which bottle you use, when you use the bottles, where you place the bottles, the directions you take, the way that you move. I think that that was probably the biggest key reason as to why the match we're going to see was a loss. And I want to go down piece by piece, talking about every single one of those so y'all could see in my head what I'm thinking and what I would have done, since I think that would make this make the outcome a whole lot different. So before we get started, as y'all can see, this match is being played on the Borgo. Now, post-rework, Borgo is not nearly as bad as it used to be. The main building being moved to the corner means that it's much less accessible to survivors throughout more of your chases, and given that it's probably one of the strongest tiles on the map, even compared to Killer Shack, this should mean that, as a whole, your chase times should, on average, be a lot shorter. So this is a good thing. Horizontally, it's still a little bit problematic, but again, most of the map isn't nearly as strong without being able to get toward that main building. It's mostly a lot of filler pallets. They've got a couple of jungle gyms, but even the jungle gyms that we're going to see in this match, they were not ultimately that strong. So it's not the map that was much of a problem, in my opinion, when it comes to winning this game. Again, I defer back to what I said previously. This match relied almost purely on decision making at the micro level. So let's go ahead and get started. The sound is going to be disabled purely because I think it's going to make the video as a whole a lot easier to follow if we don't have double layered commentary going over in between. So we start ahead, we're already looking, we already know a survivor is not going to be on any of these generators. This one back here is where you're going to want to go, and you seem to have a good understanding of that. You should already be prepping your yellow bottle, but throwing it right here is also okay. It's not the best bottle placement. I would almost consider throwing it through the window, because then you're going to have it in between and you can cycle around and you can slice it a lot easier. But that's not entirely to say it was a bad call, because thankfully they were immersing around the corner. They're intending to play the check spot over here. Do you see this? They're playing check. This is right at the edge of the corner. Now, what I would be paying attention for when I'm going to make this next play is whether or not I can tell by their movement what they're going to do. So you throw a pink, and as you throw this pink and you start to run, I can tell you right now, because you threw that pink the way that you did, he's not vaulting this window. He is absolutely not vaulting this window. And now, thankfully, when you start to cross over, do you notice this? We're going to go back. You pick up this yellow. Thankfully, when you throw this pink, notice when he crosses over and you're doubling back, he's already past the window. So the reason why he didn't see you is because as you actually start to go back around, you were not punished for him getting you the vision through this window. Because if he saw you, if you were a little bit faster, or if he started to rotate a bit more delayed, then what would have happened is he would have doubled back. You would not have gotten this hit before it expired, because you wouldn't have the distance. You would have then had to start playing more around another double rotation. You probably would have had to place another yellow bottle to get the reset. And now you're down more bottles before you get your first health state. The reason why I'm pointing that out is, again, your saving grace as to why you hit him anyways is because he was already past the window. One can tell by doing this that he would have rotated anyways, and you still, again, could have hit him if you just rotated around the left. One last time, because this is important. It's all about optimizing your chase times. You get this yellow, throw the pink, rotate. Rotate, especially here. I can already tell you he's not vaulting because of that pink. You would have gotten hit a couple seconds sooner, but that's fine. Let's move forward. You're taking him to this next pallet loop. This yellow bottle's great. This is great because he doesn't have anything else besides this pallet. This pink, phenomenal. Everything that you're doing here right now is perfect, except for one little mistake coming forward. This right here. See, this is a down. This is an animation lock. There is literally nothing he could do. While your pink was irrelevant, it was proper preemptive placement for you to engage aggressively after he dropped the pallet. Even if he dropped it on the other side, you would have then been able to rotate. His only saving grace would have been lithe, is if that pallet went down, he lithed, and then he chained from the tile. If he didn't do that, though, there was nothing he could do. But what happens? You try to double back. You don't recognize the animation lock. Again, watch. Yellow, pink, if you just rotated around and you lunged, that's a hit. He wouldn't be able to vault in time. This too, you're playing too scared. This is another problem. You're playing way too scared. You're not playing into the speed differential of your bottles. Look at how long your yellow's going. Look at this. Look at this. Your yellow's not even halfway done, and you're doubling back. If you just played more into it, you played into your pink, and you lunged, you get this down even with a little bit of the double backs. Now, you do down him here. You're slowed down your chase time, I think, maybe about 6 to 7 seconds. But here's one thing I really don't like, okay? So, as you can see, you don't need another bottle for this. Notice how he's got nothing? I really hate when people do this because this is just stat padding. You know, gang, when I play my clown matches, I don't do this. I don't deliberately use pink so I can get intoxicated down so I can inflate my leaderboards because that's what this is. And you are making your matches harder when you do this. Because here's the thing. If you didn't throw that pink and you didn't throw this yellow because you don't need to get the pain res, then what that would mean is you would have 2 bottles. You would be able to use those bottles. You could have hooked this pain res and you could have then initiated and you could have gotten a health state and then you could have reloaded while you had a tile slice. Now, thankfully, what does work in your favor, even though you made the mistake of padding your stats, is that you were able to carry him to a spot, a hook, that is near 2 generators with heavy progress. It is also 2 generators that are near the corner of the map, which makes them very vulnerable to tile slicing. So thankfully, it doesn't really punish you as hard as it could have had it been a different map or a different area you had to carry them to. Now, this whole little movement action going on right here is a little bit skeptical. You should definitely be kicking that gen. I don't know why you're not kicking that gen. A base kit is a base kit, especially if you are proxying this area to begin with, which I don't even agree with this proxy. I would have already gone into check main, especially since, as we're about to see in just a second, this yellow is not a bad placement. Someone's on main. Now, this is where you really fucked up. This is a really, really, really big mistake. I don't know why you're coming around like this. See, here's the telegraph that you get based on what the Sable's doing. This is immediately telegraphed, and I'm talking about, I saw this my first time watching this. This is not my first time reviewing this clip, but my very first time that I watched this, I saw this 100%. So she is not looking to pre-drop. Any survivor that is looking to drop preemptively and get value out of, say, their exhaustion perk, because as we're going to see, she does have an exhaustion perk off the jump. If she was looking to get value out of that by preemptively running, she would have done that. And the mistake that you make here, look at this. For one thing, you come around the right, like you're going to catch her on a preemptive drop when she's not even looking to preemptively drop. And then you throw this pink. Do you see the way her head is shaped? She is not looking in front of her. She's looking behind her. So if she's looking behind at the staircase and you're throwing a pink from the front, she's going to see the pink hitting her from the front as she's staring at the back. And she's going to know she still doesn't need to drop. Why? Because there's only one way you come up the staircase. That pink bottle does nothing. Your yellow bottle is expiring. You took inefficient movement coming around the back, and you also are not set up for catching her as she were to drop. What happens then is you see, you're stalling. You're thinking she's going to drop. She's not going to drop because she's waiting on you to come up the staircase. When you come up the staircase, what happens? She still doesn't drop. This is everything I'm talking about, right? It's only when you give her that little bit of movement, she still doesn't drop yet. Notice how she still doesn't drop? Because she knows what you're intending to do. She's got you a little bit red. You finally get her to drop now, but what's the problem here? What are we seeing right now, gang? You don't have a yellow bottle. What you should have done, let's go back a few seconds here, gang. Let's go back about right here when you're coming around. This is the first time you see her aura. What you want to do, for one thing, you don't come around the left, you go through this doorway, you drop a yellow at the base of that staircase. You would even right now, you put a yellow at the base of that staircase. You do not throw this pink just yet. What you could do, if anything, after putting the yellow, you try to bait her down. If she doesn't, you put a pink at the base, not at the top. You put a pink at the bottom. Then you look to push her. That's going to catch her off the drop. She's going to lose value out of her exhaustion perk. That's going to allow you to tile chain more effectively instead of doing what you're doing right now, which is chasing her from dropping off the left. You do not have your yellow bottle. She has an exhaustion perk. She's still intoxicated. That's what you've got going for her. But as we can see, it's not enough. It's not enough. She's able to chain all the way to another pallet. And further, look at this. Notice she stands there. She is actually pretty good. I could tell the moment when I was watching this for the first time and I saw that she was doing this, I said, okay, she's not your average Survivor player. She actually kind of knows what she's doing. So here's what you're doing right now. Do you see this little shit you're doing right here? Normally, this is understandable against a Survivor of a lower caliber, but she actually understands to some degree pallet possession. I would argue, in fact, that this Sable has experience playing against decent clown players. So when you pivot back so early without even forcing her to truly consider giving up pallet possession, then you don't really have any lethality because she knows your game. And finally, what happens here? You start to lunge, you eat the stun. So how do you play around this? How do you play around this? So when you drop down and you're chasing her and you're going to this pallet, this is all fine. Honestly, this yellow is even fine too. You would want to get the pink. Your pink, you had a pink out and that's good. You want to put the pink at the back right end. What you then do while you've got this long ass duration, see, this is again, why are you doing this? She has so much pallet possession respect. You don't connect anything here. You don't connect anything playing this 50-50. You want to walk around, stand right outside of that area of possession where you would eat the stun. She will drop it. You want to anticipate when that's actually going to happen. She's going to be in that animation lock for a little bit of distance. That's where you're going to get your yellow with the pink and the extension from the duration. But that's the thing. You are way too obvious. And in the process of your obvious nature, you eat the stun. You eat the stun. What does she do? You have to kick it. She chains. She makes it to another tile. And if to my understanding, you don't even commit to this chase, respectively. Hell, yeah, you haven't even gotten a hit yet. And that's fine, breaking chase. I would agree breaking chase is the right decision. But do you see how if you had played it a little bit better, you would have gotten an injury and you perhaps could have either played things differently in chase following. You could have had a reason to commit to chasing the Sable still. And or the injury would have bought you some pressure to break chase now. Because right now, you're just breaking chase and wasting time in a sense, right? You haven't confirmed a health state. If you had at least confirmed an injury, that could have been something to stall them from doing generators. Ultimately, though, breaking chase to go over here is still pretty smart. I think this is the first time we come over here, and we actually stumble across the Sable again. This is good. If you haven't figured out yet that she's a good player, what you're about to see should absolutely tell you she's a good player. She drops his pallet. She hasn't even given you a chance to greed. She hasn't given you a chance to rotate. She knows you have to kick this pallet. She knows that the pink doesn't matter. You kick this pallet. Then what does she do? She holds W. You start to chase her. This is the right call. The yellow, this is a good yellow. I would do the exact same yellow. This yellow is fine. She knows that she needs to go this way. This is good on her part. This pink is fine to ensure that you get the hit. That's fine. I understand, even if you probably wouldn't necessarily need it. I agree with it. Now, the choice to go this way, I don't know if I agree with that, especially kicking this. Remember, this is a Basekit kick. If someone ran away that was working on this channel, you were chasing Sable, they're going to undo that 5% and get going a lot sooner, and all you've really done is given Sable all of this distance and free distance. If there was any chance of you catching her, it should be really unreasonable at this point. But thankfully, is what I remember, we do come across her. So again, kicking that's not going to do anything. However, thankfully, again, as we're coming forward, we're going to see here. She's injured. She runs into you. Now, I sometimes make this mistake too. This is fine, even though it was bad. The real mistake that you make beyond this, because this obviously was a free down, is what's coming up right now. I don't know what you were thinking. Now, I've done some weird shit that I've recognized were mistakes. There is absolutely no valid reason you should ever do this. Because for one thing, really good survivors, we've already identified that the Sable is a skilled player. They will recognize when you've thrown a bottle, and they will take advantage of that by vaulting. The Sable, I believe, had Lithe. We don't know if her Lithe is came off cooldown, and if she did have an opportunity to vault this with Lithe, you were not catching her. Because if you do not hit this lunge right here, again, she would not be intoxicated to force the medium. So if there was any way of her getting the angle for the fast vault, you are not preventing that using your power. And Lithe means that you are jailed. You are jailed in this. You will attempt the lunge, miss, because again, fast vault potentially. And you don't have a way of coming back around. She may even get your yellow due to the faster activation. That's GG's. That's a lot of wasted time. But thankfully, she does misplay, even though you misplay. Where would I place this yellow? If I was coming this way and I was looking for Sable, here's where I would place this yellow. Especially if I miss this lunge. I would immediately recover, come back around, because I want to catch her at this window. She's looking like she wants to vault. We see this with Cigar Box. I would put the yellow right at the base of this fence as I pivot left, because where is she going to go, gang? Where is she going to go? She's going nowhere without running right in your fucking face, right? She's not getting out of here if you pivot a bit to the left. All pivoting to the left does is you catch her off the vault, especially with the Lithe. So you can afford to do that. You have no reason to do this. You put the yellow right outside, gang, and what that means is this is a guaranteed 50-50. See, look at this. Imagine if instead of throwing the yellow inside, you put the yellow on the outside, you play 50-50 with this vault. Guaranteed hit. Thankfully, it doesn't matter. You're still able to down her. You're able to vault inward. You're able to get this pickup. This is a necessary pain res. You do need this pain res right now. We are currently 3 minutes into the game. This is important, gang. It may say that we've only lost 1 generator, but we have not lost just 1 generator's worth of progress. We have lost significantly more than that. 3 minutes is the equivalent of 180 seconds, which is back-to-back 2 generators if 1 survivor were working on them. So at a bare minimum, what we are going to recognize here is that there are multiple generators with partial progress. So getting this pain res is very, very important. So you get this pain res, we're now transitioning to our next chase. Ultimately, everything does somewhat look fine. Yes, you want to go back over here. We already know people are working there. I know that one hook looks tempting. Not seeing anyone here and recognizing to go back is the right call. You know, it's a shame you don't see anybody, but sometimes DBDB's like that, you know. This is where Starstruck does get you value, but again, you should not be getting this value. Because if they knew, especially where you were coming from, this Zarina ran into nothing. But imagine, y'all, think about this. We're going to go back a few seconds. Imagine if, instead of going to the right and running into this zone, she just went to the left. If she went to the left and not the right, you're not catching her before Starstruck expires. Starstruck is already about 1/3 of the way done as we speak. So that's the other thing to take into account. Starstruck should not be getting use value, but thankfully it is. So let's get our hook. This is one of the biggest damn mistakes that you've made this whole match. This is a macro mistake, but this is a damn big mistake. We are almost 4 minutes in, and you voluntarily choose to hook her on a regular hook instead of a pain res that's in your face. Because I guess for whatever reason, if I reasonably had to presume, you believe there's not a whole lot of generator progress because the gen counter says 4 generators. But again, we are almost 4 minutes into the match. 4 minutes is about 240 seconds. We're at about 233 seconds. So yes, this is a very bad time to be thinking I'm going to put off the pain res. You want to be going for this pain res right now. The decision to go over here is basically throwing away 25% instant regression on the most progress gen. But where do we go from here? So right now, this yellow is somewhat okay. If people were working on this gen and they were trying to immerse, you would catch them out for that reason. So that is a fine use of the yellow bottle, especially reloading off of that to reset your bottle economy. That is all fine. That's good. Coming over here, this is important. This is important. Who is this? This is Renato. You've hooked Renato already. This is a bad use of your bottle. You should not need to throw this bottle. The reason why you should know not to throw this bottle is because look at this. As you put your not even this other yellow right here. You don't even need this to know not to throw the pink. So as you're running around here, what you should know is you see him moving and the way he's looking with his R. Pay attention to his R, the survivor's model, okay? He is looking behind him. See, look at this. It's probably a little bit hard to see with the resolution, but I can guarantee you in game, when you are playing this match, He is looking from the back end. He is looking to leave. And because of how you pushed in, if you were close enough, you would see him if he was still at this tile, and you would see him if he was hugging from the left. Now, your yellow is fine. Your yellow is fine. The pink, the reason why the pink is a waste is because he's not playing the tile. I would have put the bottle away. I would have still had the bottle out if I were in your shoes, but I would have recognized this as I pulled the bottle out. I would have put it away because I know I can get my yellow, and then I would start to pull out my pink. This is where I would be looking to get the hit because you want to commit to chasing this Renato. This Renato is, you don't even need to worry about this hook even. This survivor has one hook state. Renato is one hook state, but Renato's off the hook. By putting pressure on Renato, especially when he's near Zarina, you can potentially get a free tag. You can have a reason to commit to chasing him. And once he's been hooked, that's 2 hooks onto him. He becomes a very viable tunnel out in order to get some really, really crazy efficient pressure at the worst if you absolutely need it that soon. So here we go here, especially since we've established, I believe, that he doesn't have anti-tunnel perks. Now, here's a really damn big mistake that you make, okay? This is a really, really, really big one because we're playing into how important it is to start chasing Renato. You throw that away at this moment. So we're coming around here. Did you see how he doubled back? He is playing pallet possession at this pallet. Remember, this pallet has a curving fence. It's very hard for him to chain away from this tile without either running directly into the survivor off the hook and giving you a free tag or running to the one pallet gem in the corner of the map. So he's in a pretty bad spot, assuming you slice the tile properly. And it's at this moment when you recognize that he's playing this possession of this pallet, you want to yellow the inside of this building. Right where you're standing, you want to put this yellow down, consider pushing a teeny bit to the left, not as far as you did. Then you want to push right, get him to throw down that pallet, possibly throw the pink where he would otherwise need to go. And then with the duration of your yellow, you could look to either catch him on the 50-50 of the vault, or you would catch him before he chains the tile. And if you can get that health state, you have a reason to leave the hook, you have a reason to chase and down him, and you have the bottle economy to do so, meaning that you can now get the hook in that macro pressure that, again, I was previously talking about. But what happens instead? Without throwing any bottles, you rotate left. And what happens? He leaves pallet possession because you're not slicing this tile. You had a chance to slice this tile with your bottle placements because you don't sheerly slice a tile based off of your movement. Not every tile, at least. Sometimes you do need your bottles to get to slice a tile. And because you didn't do that at this tile, you are not slicing it. You give him an opportunity to leave the possession of this pallet. And where does he go, gang? He's all the way back to Shaq. And while Shaq doesn't have a pallet anymore, he's got all that pre-run distance to where it's artificially extending his chase time. It's not really worth a chase necessarily. And again, had you done what I had said, got that one health state, that would have made it a viable chase. That would have put the leverage back in your favor. So now we are on the back end because since you weren't able to chase Renato, you are pushed more into camping. But again, look at our build. We have Agitation, Pain Rest, Starstruck, Gift of Pain. This is not a camping build, gang. You don't win matches with this build based off of camping, especially if the survivors know to come last second for their unhooks. So that's where we're at right now, and that's why we're going to get our asses kicked, especially since, again, this is a regular hook on the Zarina. This could have been a pain res. So we're missing out on that opportunity of that minus 25% instant regression. Going forward, we are not able to chase the Renato because all the pre-run distance. You are wise not to chase him, by the way. That is the right call. Going for Sable. She's also been hooked once. This is fine. This pink is a fine mistake. I would have made this exact same mistake, so don't feel bad about this. I will give you the leeway on that. I can see myself literally making that exact same mistake. You should feel great about this hit. That's all you need to know to go for this chase. I know you were looking back at the hook because you don't know necessarily what to do. You're probably expecting an unhook to happen right as you get the M1 health state, and you would consider the possibility for that tunnel. I get all of that, but for the record, this hit that you got at this window is literally all the commission you need to commit toward this Sable. So as we can see, we're chasing her. You get this yellow. This is a fantastic yellow. Pulling back the pink is good. You want to pull it out now. Pulling it out here is fine because you do still get the intoxication. And this is literally like, I would almost say just like the simulations. This is beautiful. This was a beautiful chase. This is literally almost as good as it gets. Again, you hit her at the window, yellow. This yellow has the duration for the momentum to where you don't need another yellow. She gets the animation lock. This is important. As you get this yellow and you have this long duration, as you're going around, she drops this pallet. She throws away. If it takes a second to drop a pallet, she's throwing away 4 meters of distance, gang. 4 meters of distance. So what ends up happening, because she spends that time throwing down that pallet and you are able to rotate around with your yellow and you have the pink to slow her down before she gets to the doorway, that's how you were able to catch her. She's not able to go anywhere to the right. She's not able to go anywhere to the left. Just like the simulations, perfect job. Really, really good stuff. So she's already been pain resed. Where you hook her doesn't necessarily matter. And for this reason, I would be looking to hook aggressively. You are behind on generator progress, especially without getting that pain res on this Zarina. You want to be picking up the Sable. You don't want to be hooking corners. You want to be going to where you know survivors are actively working on generators. So what do we see here? Okay, so I know you're thinking you want to go there because a survivor is working on this generator. You don't want to do that. This generator is done. If a survivor finishes a generator this early and you are looking to catch them, you are not going to catch them. Because all the time it takes you to carry her to this hook, look at all this time here, gang. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Well, it's a little bit beyond that, gang. I'm a little bit ahead of myself because they have more time than I'll hook, but I digress. What I'm really getting at here, gang, the time it takes to get this hook is that she's gone. She's a mile away. She is not at the corner of this tile. And you're going to, as you see, you went to hook her here. It doesn't matter. You don't find anybody. Where you're looking at right now, do you see this gen? That's where they're at. You've already caught them 2 times at 2 different points in the match working on this generator. So if this generator is not complete yet, surely they have to be there. Which is why you shouldn't have carried her to this hook. If you carried her to this hook, or excuse me, if you didn't carry her to this hook, right? You picked her up and you went that way. You hooked her at that hook, went to that gen. You would be starting your next chase a whole lot sooner. Because here's what happens. Here's what we're going to see what happens. You hook her right here. You reload. This is a fine reload, obviously. You don't have any bottles. You don't have any way to initiate. Well, not necessarily, actually. No. I would even almost consider not reloading at this point, especially with this hook right here, because you want to push them off this gen. Reloading right now would be fine if survivors were in your proximity, but if you need to push survivors off gens, you don't reload right now, because you want to be spending that time. That time you spend reloading while you are slowed to a crawl is distance that you would otherwise save if you waited, which means that you would push them off sooner, and generators that are very close to completion would otherwise be saved in the process. So I don't really like this reload, but it's not the worst. Your main mistake was choosing to hook her in this corner to begin with. But again, while that is a mistake, this is another really, really huge mistake. I don't know why you're coming back to this hook. Nobody's here. I already mentioned if someone was here, they pre-ran a while ago, right? That generator, remember when this generator got completed? Look at this. You're carrying her right over here. This generator got completed a while ago. You are not catching anybody in this corner. So let's fast forward again a bit. Reload, again, is okay, not the best decision. I would look to push first. I would have also looked to hook again in a better spot. This yellow would be okay. Well, actually, no, it's not okay. What you should be doing with this yellow, you want to be going forward. You want to throw the yellow forward so you can initiate off this yellow as they're working on this building. So you want to be pre-charging your yellow right now, continually walking forward. Don't stop. And throw the yellow near that building. It will activate as you get close to it, and then you can initiate. Instead, here's the mistake. This is really, really bad, what's about to happen. Your decision to gravitate back toward this hook with this yellow, hoping that you're going to catch somebody who doesn't exist. They are not nearby. This decision costs you this generator. Because you spend anywhere from 20 to 30 seconds just concerned. I think what it is you're panicking at this point. If I really had to presume, you don't really know what to do. And this means that survivors get this generator for free. Now, as you finally start to go back to this generator is completed. Now, if you had gone, like I said earlier, this generator would have not been completed. I can't remember. Are there 2 survivors on this gen? There's at least 1. There's actually, I think, 2. I think I saw someone, I saw the a notification of someone to the right. No, it was probably just 1. But that's the thing. You would have stopped this generator from getting completed. Now, let's look at what happens right here. This should not have happened. You're probably thinking that this was a good validated hit. That can sometimes happen. It was a 50-50. I can tell you this literally should not have happened, ever. Why did this hit happen? Because the Renato doesn't have very good reaction times. He has everything in the world to tell him that you're approaching because he sees your red stain, okay? He hears your heartbeat, you're getting closer and closer. He knows that he's playing this pallet. He should have dropped this pallet before you got this hit. You hitting him is pure luck. Because especially with the red stain, he would have been able to stun you before you got the hit. And that would mean you would be playing against someone with 2 health states. And in my opinion, I would consider breaking chase if that was the case. But you did get the hit, right? Let's talk about what actually happened. You did get lucky with this hit. And that enabled things to be so much better in your favor had you recognized the lethality that was before you. So you eat the stun, you get the health state. He's got 1 health state remaining. You start coming around toward this tile in the corner. This yellow is beautiful. This is great because you can pivot in all types of different directions, okay? You can go left or right with this yellow. I really love this yellow. Further, this pink is, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. This is a amazing cross-up. You literally he is dead to rights here. There is no way he gets out of that. But what happens? You don't recognize this. You don't recognize it with Flask of Bleach, which are yellow. Look at your yellow duration. Look at this. You have so much time left on your yellows. You threw a pink to catch him off the vault. If you would have just rotated, I swear on everything, he is not making it back to that window. In the event that he actually was to have vaulted that window, you are downing him due to it being a medium vault. He is not going to have the angle to vault that as a fast vault because he's going to have to hug the corners to ensure that he doesn't stop you from catching him to begin with. I swear on that. So the mistake, again, that you made in this chase, these bottles were perfect. You didn't recognize your lethality. You don't commit to this chase. You would have otherwise hit him. And what happens in the process? Notice how he's doubling back. He sees you on the check. He sees you. Further, you have all of this distance that you have to cover. You're not even hugging the wall as tight. You've got all of this on the left. And had you done that, hell, you probably would have caught him, especially if you had hugged a bit more to the left and cut more off. It's a little bit in the air. Ultimately, though, the mistake that allowed him to get to this pallet was your choice to double back. Okay? That's why he was able to get here, because you thought you weren't going to catch him. You were nervous, in my opinion. That was the presumption I got based on this decision-making. And again, you try the 50-50, but his reaction time's better in this chase, right? Or this part of the chase. He stuns you. And in the process, he goes for this, right? Now, let's really, really focus in on why this matters. Why I'm really putting so much emphasis on recognizing your lethality at this moment. So, as we're chasing him to this tile, and you get this yellow, and you are throwing this pink, you should have downed him about 4 seconds from now. About 4 seconds. If you would have just chased him through as he was slowed. Worst case scenario is you're coming around this left, by the way. You could put a pink on the right side, and you absolutely would have slowed his ass and caught him. Because you do have a bottle for that. But you would have downed him about right now into the match. 6:06 in terms of time. So instead, because you're not able to catch him, because you eat this pallet stun, let's look and see how long it takes you to down him. You reload. Smart call. I like you holding this yellow. This is a very good yellow. I like this yellow. You should be pulling out your pink already, but this is still fine. I think you missed the pink. You missed the pink. It's still fine because this is just like the Sable chase. You recognize what you needed to do. You also caught him with the other pink afterward, which meant you could catch him with the medium vault, just like before, just like the simulations. This was a good chase, but you downed him at 6:36. You were looking to vault a pickup after 6:36, which means because you didn't recognize your lethality, right? Remember what I said about how much the micro decisions can hurt you? because you didn't catch this and you didn't recognize this and you stalled past 606. You stalled out this chase 30 seconds, which is the equivalent of 30% of generator progress for one survivor, and you have every survivor still alive and active on the map. And if they are especially not healing, what are they going to be doing? They're working on generators. So this really, really hurts you if you're wondering where all your generators were going. That's where they were going. They were going from the time that you were wasting on this chase because you could have downed him a whole lot sooner. And I want to clarify, I really hope this doesn't sound very negative. I'm being very critical about this because these are very critical details. You know, like I said, while the build itself could have been better, while the map obviously could have been better, this is all, for the most part, micro decision making, okay? So I'm really taking it down to the stringent level of details because that is how I view my games. That is how I win my games, okay, gang? So going again forward. This is, again, a very good yellow. As far as recognizing or playing around our mistakes, I should say, and trying to, you know, salvage what we can. Again, very good yellow. Slight mistake on the pink, especially since it could have been pre-charged sooner to get you a better arc. But that's fine. Again, this pink, you know, it gets you the down that you needed. This is very good. You get this down, all things considered. But remember, 30 seconds, 30 seconds. You could have hooked him sooner. You could have pressured that gen. So you get this hook. We've got one generator left on the counter, but since every other survivor is alive, those survivors are probably working on that last generator. Pain res doesn't matter, but this is still a convenient hook regardless. This hook is fine. It's a little bit more aggressive for hooking, which makes it fine continuously for more than one reasons. As we chain here, there's your last generator completed. See, imagine if you got that hook that I was talking about sooner, and you could have looked to go somewhere over here. You know, Sable, I believe, has been hooked twice. If Sable has already been hooked twice before you got this hook onto Renato, and you were able to hook him 30 seconds sooner, and you were able to catch Sable at one of these generators 30 seconds sooner, you would have been able to kill Sable before the generator was completed or before survivors were out the exit gates, and you would have been able to catch another survivor during the end game, which meant that this match would have been a 2K outcome, and based off of hook states, probably anywhere from a 2K 7 hooks to 2K 8 hooks. So instead, what we see here, all generators are completed. You have, I believe, something like 5 hooks. No survivors are dead. And this is normally, okay. You could have, this could have been optimized a bit better. This is another big, this is, again, you really need to recognize this more. You are showing your red stain. She already probably sees you. She already sees you off a check. But the way you approach like this, she guaranteed sees this, your red stain. You would be able to save yourself just a little bit of optimized distance if you just turned yourself around, face the other way, and you lunged around those corners. Because if she's standing the way that she is, she's going to eat a corner moonwalk lunge if you go for it. But still, you get this hit. It's fine. She doesn't really have much to go with at the moment, as we can see. This yellow looks great. I like this yellow. I like this yellow. This pink is perfect. Oh my gosh. This is great. She can't play this. I mean, especially if you had 2, by the way, she couldn't play this. But with Flask, I don't think she plays this if she wanted to play this tile. She can't because that yellow has the momentum with the extra duration. That pink is placed perfectly for the rotation. And as you can notice, she's holding forward. This pink, I think, is also pretty decent. You want to be getting to... Okay, you're coming around the left. You don't want to do this. You want to slice her back into the corner. I would be going from the right. You're going through the left. Thankfully, she doesn't vault this. Because if she had vaulted this as you come back around, you're probably not catching her on the other side, especially if she had live. I don't know if she has live, I can't remember, but if she had live because she hadn't used anything for it yet, and you came around this way instead of coming around for the right to slice her inward on the tile, she's vaulting that, she's not getting, you're not catching her as she chains, those gates are going to be guaranteed 99 to be opened, and if any one of these survivors shows up to body block, you're not stopping them before they get out. However, again, thankfully, she runs deeper into the corner of the LT, and this means it doesn't matter. At this point, where you're standing right now and where she's at on the LT, especially since it's at the corner, you want to be putting your yellow bottle right now at the center of this LT. Where you're standing, you want a yellow, you want to pivot coming around the right, especially hiding the red stain. You want to see if you can bait her to vault. If she doesn't vault, and or if she does, you put the pink at the back end. And then you can take that yellow and you either pivot back around if she chains the tile, or you hit her at the LT if she chooses to stay. It's all like the simulations, as I say, it's all calculatable. It's very straightforward and textbook, okay? None of this is very complicated, and I immediately see it as I recognize. So again, good pink, good pink. You want to be switching to yellow right now. Good. You want to have your yellow pulled out right now. You want to put the yellow right now, turn, pink, hook, line, and sinker. Instead, thankfully, she doesn't vault. Thankfully, we don't see live action. Thankfully, you get the pink, and you're able to down her right here. Genuinely. I put emphasis on thankfully because there will be survivors who will do the exact same thing that this Rebecca is doing, except they will have loadouts to do it better, and you will not catch them. Okay? Really, really put emphasis on that for a reason. Good pickup. I don't know about this hook. You want a hook right there, in my opinion. I don't think there's a gate over there. Yeah, gate over here, gate to your left. So yeah, you're carrying a little bit too deep toward the center, in my opinion. Yeah, you're carrying closer to gates in the center of the map. This is not objectively a good spot to be hooking someone for the very first time. Again, gate right here, gate over there. You wanted to go back for the other pain res to camp this. But objectively, at this point, a match is a wrap. You should not be able to stop these survivors from 4-man outing if they play properly. 3 healthy survivors without save the best for last. If they coordinate the body block and they man mode it, that's GG's. But let's see again what happens. So again, gate opened, EGC begin. Both gates are opened, rather. Survivors are looking to come in. We see 1 on one side. I think we notice 2 on one side. I think we see where the other one's coming around as well. You don't have lethality on any of these survivors, by the way. There is no shot that you catch any of these survivors before they get out the gates for 2 reasons. A, they're healthy, or rather 3 reasons. A, they're healthy. B, you don't have save the best for last. And 3, you chose to hook aggressively toward the middle of the map. Now, without save the best for last, especially with good bottle placements and good recognition and a good proper early tag, if these survivors came in for the coordinated save, you probably could catch them before they went to the gates if you were hooked more toward the back. But you hooked toward the middle, you hooked closer for both gates. That's not going to happen now. You don't have that lethality even if you use your bottles well, because all it takes is 1 body block. They may let someone die on the hook, worst case scenario, everyone else is getting out. Now, this is fine, stalling out as best as you can. You definitely don't down her, so smart not to go for her. Going for Renato is somewhat okay, but again, you want to be looking to potentially yellow. I would have considered swapping to yellow because you want to look to yellow before you get the sim 1 because you're going to need to get to yellow in your recovery and then you want to pink them afterward. See, the pink's not going to do anything here. You're going to put this pink down. You're going to hit them. Zarina's not going to be affected by your pink because she's in the hit recovery. This is smart. Oh my gosh. Brilliant. Brilliant use of pink to counter body blocking. That is literally what you want to do. This pink is also good. You want to slow her down to wait out the Basekit BT. I would have put the pink in front because she's still slowed down, and while it does reset, you're still not getting the most efficiency. It doesn't matter here. You still down her after the Basekit expires, so it's still okay, but to what I recall, is she still on first? That was her first hook state, wasn't it? Now, Agitation, thankfully, lets you get this hook carry. But again, if you hook deeper in, you wouldn't have to carry to this hook. You would carry to an even better hook. In fact, they probably wouldn't have even bothered coordinating the hook to begin with if that was the case. So let's see what we got here. Second hook state. Again, we're stalling out the rest of this match that you probably wouldn't normally be able to salvage. Everybody resets. Do you see how problematic this is, being at the endgame with everybody as alive? You should not be able to contest this. You are overextending beyond your hook way too much if you were actually intending to contest this hook. You are way beyond contest. If someone came right now and they unhooked, they're out that gate. You don't stop that. Now, I didn't exactly catch where everybody was. I think possibly, in hindsight, that everybody was toward that other gate. But all it takes is 1 survivor that wasn't there because you had mostly everybody healthy for them to come and get this sneak unhook, and then you don't contest that whatsoever, especially with the Basekit bonus speed and the other survivor being healthy. So returning to this hook, right call, reloading with 5 bottles. I would throw down a yellow a little bit more away from the hook so it can't be reached by the survivors before I reloaded right now, just to further optimize. But reloading with 5 bottles is still not a bad call because you want to have as many bottles as you can when survivors do make their approach. Putting yourself back to 6. You spent way too much time not looking back at your hook, by the way. I don't know if you noticed how long you were actually reloading as you were looking over here. You were not looking enough at your hook. You were not looking. You need to be looking at your hook about 1.5 seconds beforehand. This is somewhat fine. Again, you are not looking at the other side because, I mean, we haven't seen, again, where everybody is. You can very much get snuck. See, there we go. There's Renato. So you see where 2 survivors are now. 3rd on the hook. There's 4th. You know where everybody is. Good. No, what are you doing? What are you doing? I don't know about this. You probably could have reached Zarina because of when she took that tag if you yellowed into pink. I don't know about this. This is very... Okay, well, I guess she's just going to give you the kill. I guess she didn't even try to play around it. This very well could have not worked out in your favor. You very well could have not even gotten this kill. I want to very much emphasize that because if they had just kind of coordinated themselves a little bit better, because they did get the sneak around. Let's go back again. Let's go back to when this happened. We see someone on the back. You don't have any real reasons to ability to pressure anybody. This Zarina, you get this hit, you catch her before she makes a gate. I don't know why you would do this, because even though she gave up, this is all it... You have Renato and Sable. Renato and Sable are both healthy. All it took is one of them to get between you, and you don't get anything here. That was their mistake, right here. She may have Basekit BT. The reason why you killed this Rebecca was because they did not position properly. I would go for injuries instead of... Well, then again, she's on death hook. Yeah, no. This is fine. Yeah, again, you don't contest anything here. They know you. There's nothing really to gain, nothing to more than anything to lose. So there's your 1k8. This looks like a 1k8. And I mean, like, again, 1k8 on Borgo is clown, with technically only pain res really doing anything. And again, you only got 2 activations of pain res, so it was half full value. 1k8 is not too bad. But again, you very well could have won this game. This was 110% a very winnable game. This was a match that was just purely lost due to mistakes. Let's go ahead and look at the loadouts. Let's get forward a bit. Okay, so pretty decent builds, not super OP builds though. 2 survivors with windows. Top one had super meta as shit. I mean, yeah, we've got a DS, Dead Hard, Resilience. That is actually pretty damn good with the windows. You know, Zarina had windows, Distortion, Lithe, and We'll Make It. Pretty good build. Sable had Kindred, Deja Vu, Lithe, Unbreakable. You know, like, I mean, gang, like, especially since a couple of these people didn't have medkits, this very much looks like a solo queue team. If you see 2 survivors with Deja Vu on the same team, it's very much solo queue. In my opinion, they didn't even play at a super coordinated level to make me believe that they were a Swift. This was just seemed like a standard game. Remember, you went a total of 3.5 minimum minutes before the generators were fully completed, which meant they spread a whole lot of progress between generators. They were not at that level of coordination that would make sense of a Swift. This was, you know, that's why, again, why I'm talking about how these mistakes really matter in micro decisions, because it's not as if you were playing against people that were fully optimized as well on their end. So again, pretty standard builds, not the sweatiest. Focus in on everything I talked about when it comes to your own decisions, when it comes to improving. Your build could be changed to be better. Get rid of Starstruck. Get rid of Gift of Pain. Consider taking a Chase perk and another, like Save the Best for Last, etc., and another Gen Slowdown Regression perk like Grim Embrace, Pop Goes the Weasel, Deadlock, etc. But with a little bit of practice and reviewing everything that I've talked about here, I think that you and anybody else who happens to be making the same mistakes, I think that there's a whole lot to gain from this, and that your matches could be a whole lot better with recognizing all of this. Because again, you know, like, while I did watch this match a few times to get a full comprehensive understanding of the things I wanted to talk about, Many of these things, it was on my very first review of this match, I just immediately caught out. Things from like not recognizing the lethality, recognizing your bottles when to use them. You know, a lot of this stuff is textbook, that's non-slicing of the tiles, so really just kind of, I'll have everything time-stamped to go back and watch on the different areas. But other than that, I hope y'all really enjoyed this match. This was somewhat fun to kind of get into. It's been a while since I've done a clown classroom. You know, there's been kind of some reasons why I haven't been doing a whole lot of these, but the opportunity came before me. Shout out to Aerico34 for allowing me to do this and for especially seeking me out for help. It takes a lot of humility to do that, gang. You know, I know that this review seemed very critical when it comes to everything that I looked at. I know I put a lot of emphasis on a lot of things. My intentions of everything that I said and how I expressed myself was not to come off too harsh. It is purely to demonstrate why they are so important. You know, with a little bit of work, especially, you know, directed towards Aerico, you can go a whole lot farther with this. I know, I've seen you play in the past. It's all about getting into the swing of things again and knowing why it is things are mistakes and how it is to make the right decision. So, if y'all really enjoyed this video, I have plenty more coming out in the future. If you're interested in learning how to play clown yourself, I have a very extensive clown guide that I'll make sure to link in the description. And lastly, I stream live on Twitch during the weekdays, so if you want to see how I play clown, you want to see how to play clown better from my own experience and perspective, be sure to have a link to my stream in the description. But other than that, I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I'll see y'all next time. Later, gang.